Are we good? We're good. What's up, Jaglones? So, today we have an exciting day. We're going to talk about my dumb stories. So my dumb stories include, let's see here, guys, here, sticker time. Our dumb stories today include things you shouldn't try at home, okay? I don't recommend anyone try this at home, or the stories I'm about to tell you. Don't necessarily attempt them. I doubt I should have attempted them when I did. I will, however, probably continue to attempt to make new stories like this. In fact, I'm like 99% sure, unless I get some kind of a debilitating disease or injury. Even then, I'll probably use that to my advantage. I'm like, oh, I have no leg. Oh, can I touch a rhino? To get my way in. That'll take more coercion than physical exertion. So anyway, today's episode is about going to a zoo or animal park and making contact with animals that you're not necessarily allowed to. Probably shouldn't. There's plenty of horror stories where people have done this and gotten hurt or died, and then the animal had to be destroyed. So don't do this. Yeah. So my background is giant Animal Planet. Not afraid to touch anything in the wild either, or approach anything in the wild. 8 years of vet teching. And part of that is being a vet tech doesn't make me an animal expert, but it makes you aware of what animals' reactions are, like what they're gonna do when their body language, how they're looking at stuff. I got the cooties, so I'm headed to bed early. Man, it's God, we love you. Have a good one. This one should be fun, I hope. I'm just trying to make sure we don't encourage anyone to imitate me, because I'm generally pretty stupid. So, in a very factual way. I don't usually think about consequences, but I do. I worry more when I try to do things like this about the animal than I do myself. So if I do try to be extra safe for the animal's sake, I'm not as worried about myself, which you'll hear more of in a couple stories. So, anyway, let's start out. So these are animal tales. They don't all involve physical contact with an animal. They don't all involve me trying to make physical contact with animals, but I tend to have that gift, like animals come to me. So our first up, we're going to talk about the black rhinoceros. So, and in my thought, there's not much you could physically do to a black rhinoceros that would hurt it. And then if you're not in their enclosure, there's like a 0% chance they can hurt you. So I did neither of those things. I didn't hurt it, didn't attempt to hurt it. I just want to do this. This is it, just a boop. That's it. That's all I ever want. And collect animals that way, okay? So there's two stories of a black rhinoceros. One was funny, and one was really kind of not. So one I almost got hurt. So yeah, so the first one, set the stage. I'm at Disney World. I'm there with a girlfriend. I'm an adult. We're at the Animal Kingdom, which if you've never been, it's kind of cool. I don't know why. I think I didn't stay on property. If you stay on property, I guess it's amazing. Yep, you gotta touch them all. Gotta touch them all, Jedi. So anyway, we went. It's literally 10 degrees hotter there than anywhere else in Florida at any given moment. So if it's 110 where you are in Florida, if you go to Animal Kingdom or whatever the hell it's called, it's 120. Okay, so I don't. It's basically blacktop. I don't know who designed this park, but I hope they got fired hard. Okay. So anyway, we're there and we're on this safari ride, and the way they have most of their enclosures set up is that the animals you're looking up a hill into their enclosure, and then it goes over. So over the other side, there's like nothing. But it looks like it goes on forever. So you're looking at the tiger, and you're like, oh, my God. Tiger's got 30 acres of land in here. No. Tiger's got, it's got a good setup, but it's not like you think it is. It looks like it goes on into infinity. Can you see the roof of the building behind it? So the roof is the building's like inset. Okay, so you're looking here, and the building's down. So anyway, I didn't touch tiger at this place. So this rhino we're on a safari thing. We're in a truck, and I have the window seat. Thankfully, my girlfriend at the time knew how important that was to me. So I had the window seat just in case. I wanted to be as close as possible, taking pictures, fun saver camera, not to date myself, but fun saver camera. I think we had a digital camera too, but I wasn't trusted with that. So anyway, the bus thing we're in stops and it's all open, right? There's like a tent top, but it's all open. And these animals are essentially about as tame as they're going to be. So we've seen the lions, we've seen it's a really cool setup. Like inside the whole thing, there's like an enclosure with a fence or something, and you can't really see. And there's like a cheetah. And then a little bit farther away, there's like a lion. And you're driving through this whole thing, and there's just zebras and giraffes and stuff just walking around near you. But inside, there's enclosures with like a lion. There's another thing with a cheetah. This is how I remember it. If I'm wrong, by all means, call me out. But we get to a part where the bus stops. And when the bus stops, I'm 4 or 5 feet from a rhino, just staring at me. This rhino's just staring at me. Kind of. They can't really see, from what I understand, very well. So I don't know what he was looking at, but it looked like he was looking at me. And it looked like it was, hey, man, touch my nose. So I start reaching. And I'm watching the rearview mirror because I'm directly behind the driver. And I'm watching. I'm like, okay, he's not looking. And I'm reaching. And I'm this far away. And the girlfriend is like, she figures out what I'm doing. She doesn't want to get us in trouble. She's a narc. So she is like, what are you doing? And at that moment, I look up and I see the driver's looking at me. And I just, boop, touch that rhino. Get back in the truck. I'm like, well, I didn't know you were supposed to do that. The driver's all mad. There's signs everywhere. So that was the first time I touched a rhino. And I thought it was really cool because rhinos are pretty rare. Like, they're pretty rare to encounter in the first place. Pretty exciting. So the next time was at Indianapolis Zoo. I think it was like 10 years ago, maybe. Probably 10 years ago. So they have a rhino enclosure where you have this like wooden outlook thing. It's like a patio. Kind of. I don't know how else to describe it. It's like a patio that you look out over your patio and there's rhinos. So there's a wooden rail. And I am trying to lean over the rail to touch the rhino that's just on the other side. So they are behind this big, like, massive pylon thing with these big wires, like you would have on to keep a ship from driving through it, right? It's this big giant wire. And I don't know that the wire's not electrified. I don't know if it is or not. I assume it is because it's rhino. So I'm leaning over this railing. This is the railing, right? I have my pelvis on this railing, and I'm leaning out like a fulcrum to touch. And I'm, like I said, I'm 6'4". I can reach things that most people can't. Yes, I thought it was Jurassic Park fence. It's like somewhere in my head was like, don't touch it. So I'm leaning out as far as I can, and I'm like 6 inches away, and I'm leaning, and my legs are my fulcrum, and my wife and her friend are not down. They are like, whatever, you're on your own. Well, I overextend, start to fall. The only way I could catch myself is on this wire. So my hand went to reach for the wire, but my brain tried to tell my hand to stop. But like, my brain was like, just fall. And the rest of my body was like, nah. So again, I grabbed the wire. I'm supported now. Don't know how I'm going to get up. I can't like just push myself up from this wire. The pylon wasn't anywhere near me. And the rhino looks up and comes over. So the rhino puts his nose on my hand and sniffs as I'm like supporting myself. And so I'm ecstatic because I didn't essentially break the rules. I didn't touch the animal myself. He touched me, right? So I basically fell off of there onto the ground and got up and got in trouble for that. Like I got kind of a browbeating from a keeper or a docent. I still don't know who that person was. So they had a lot of fun with it. We had a lot of fun with these stories. So a lot of them involve my wife, unfortunately. Now, part of it, I think part of my mentality for this comes from growing up in the late 70s, early 80s. They were different times. Like you had the opportunity, and not to the animal's benefit, but you had a lot more opportunity to be on an animal. Like I have photos of me riding a Galapagos tortoise at a very young age. I think I was like 4. So I wasn't big, but still, I think that's exploitation of the animal today. I didn't know any better then. Obviously, I was 4. So we still have those photos. riding elephants, riding camels, riding all these animals, which I guess camels are domesticated, whatever. All these animals that we got to ride around on because it was 80s. It was 70s, it was 80s, whatever. It was wild times. So, but you would get to touch the elephants. Like, you'd feed the elephants and they would come. I have a story my mom tells of this giraffe. Like, everyone's watching the giraffe and everyone's laughing, and they look and they see me in the stroller, and the giraffe could just like lean over and get to you. So I was a baby, I was an infant, and the giraffe is just this tongue. Like, I don't know if you've seen a giraffe tongue. Let me see if I can find a picture of it. But the giraffe is just straight up going to town, like licking me everywhere. So here we go. Here we go. Let's see if we can share this. I should probably try to give credit to this photo taker. But, oh, it's from Cleveland Zoological Society. All right, so there we go. All right, let's add this to the stream. There we go, guys. You can see that tongue right there. Or am I not showing it right here? You can see that tongue is ridiculous. So that, and it's mucusy. Like, now that I've seen it as an adult, it's pretty mucusy. So you got that all over you as a toddler. Like, that's, I loved it. I was excited until it got my bottle. Like, it took my bottle. So, and that's happened to me multiple times. Like, animals just been like, oh, thanks, that's mine. And again, it's the 80s. It was a wild time. I bet that the keepers were always getting stuff out of these pens. Other places that have gotten to access to animals that a lot of people haven't, we got to go to a rescue facility for large cats. I forget what it was called. But it was in Tennessee. A veterinarian friend and I went, the vet that I worked with, and I planned a trip to go. So here you could have some brief contact with tigers and lions. They had jaguars and stuff, but they're too cagey. Like, they were too dicey. You couldn't even get near them. Just too fast. So, and even then, like, still, I couldn't, like, they had a tiger there who I laid down to. I couldn't find the photos. I'm sorry. But I laid down next to it on the ground because it was just laying down up against the fence. So I laid down a couple feet away, but basically had to tail with it, and it still had like 2 feet on me stretched out. So at the foot end, the rump end is where I just put my fingers through, not my whole hand. Because there are horror stories, like, but I got to touch a tiger, right? A Siberian tiger. So, but there's horror stories where at Brookfield Zoo, where I live, or where I go all the time. This lady, not a long time ago, maybe it was 10 years ago, she put her hand through the chain link fence, and it was their last Mexican gray wolf, which is one of the rarest wolves, I believe, on the planet. So it's the last one of their pack. So I don't know how they all died off, or if they got sent somewhere else, or what the deal was. But anyway, he was the last one. He was old. He probably didn't have much time left anyway. But this lady, super awesome lady, this is why I say do as I say, don't do as I do. She reached through her whole hand through the chain link. And if you're an adult and you've ever done that, it's difficult to get your hand back out. It's easier to get it in than out. Well, the wolf grabbed her hand and mangled it and wouldn't let go of it. And so they shot the wolf and had to cut the fence open to get the lady's hand out. But, like, it's not the wolf's fault. Like, in this case, I know we're humans and we're supposed to be team human, but I was worried about the wolf. I was upset about what happened with the wolf. So it's not his fault. He's being a wolf. Like, they're not tame animals. They're zoo animals. I would have had a real problem if I'd been there and they shot the wolf over that. I have a problem with it anyway, but that's the kind of thing that happens. Like, you see people, they do things stupid and they get in the enclosure or whatever and get taken out by the animal, like a bear or a tiger or this wolf, mauled this lady, and the animal gets euthanized or put down or murdered. Let's just call it murdered. It's not their fault. They're just going with their nature, right? We're not supposed to be there. Which is why I try to focus on non-lethal animals. So at Brookfield, there's a million different animals that they have. Let me see if I can get back to the page that I was looking at, the animals from Brookfield. Because I definitely have had some great experiences there. Now, when I was a kid, again, in the 70s, they had a thing there at the children's zoo where our friend Luke Gazellis works right now. Let's see. I've had some encounters with some of these animals here. So, but they had a thing when I was a kid at the children's zoo where they had this, like, it wasn't a kiosk, it was like a little open barn. And in the back of the barn, they had all these not enclosures, but like cages for where they would temporarily put an animal. And so they would have animal ambassadors, and they would bring them out. I don't know if you can see that there. Yeah, you probably see that that porcupine is labeled animal ambassador. I've never seen that porcupine at Brookfield Zoo yet. I've only seen video and photos of it. But so you would sit, all the kids would sit around on this bench, and there'd be a zookeeper there, and they'd come around, they'd have a little headset talking about the animal. Oh, this is a rabbit, and he does this, and he eats this, and blah, blah, his name. And they'd bring him around, you could pet him, snakes, tortoises, small animals. Sometimes they'd have like a llama they'd parade around or something like that. So it was pretty full contact. We had a lot of contact with a lot of animals. So and looking at this porcupine, I have been fortunate enough to touch a porcupine. I know that sounds weird. I've pet a porcupine, but when they're babies, their quills aren't hard yet, so that they aren't, tearing up their mom. So they had a baby at a place, and it was up against the little fence that it's in, and I got to kind of reach through and give him some scritches. And he was very happy about it. But it was kind of like a wire brush, kind of like petting a wire brush with a pillow attached to it. But it was, I don't know if baby's the right word. It was a toddler, right? It wasn't fully weaned yet, probably, but still, that was cool. Just like to see what they feel like. So dolphins, I got to pet dolphins 2 times. Both times was apparently against the rules. The one time was at Brookfield. It was coming by as I was young. I was walking by the tank and after the dolphin show and kind of splashing along the water, which again, not supposed to do, but I think there were too many people. Nobody noticed I was doing it until the dolphin came up to check out what I was doing. And then I was like, hello. For nobody that has pet them before, they kind of feel like a hard-boiled egg, like a peeled hard-boiled egg. The other time was at SeaWorld, and I was a teenager. I was either just out of high school or about to be. So to say I was kind of a jerk is hey, Andrew, how you doing? Is an understatement. Yeah, I was kind of a real dick at that time in my life. So I'm watching the keepers. They have this huge tank. If anybody's ever been to SeaWorld in Florida, I don't even know if they still have it, but it was this massive tank in the floor. Like, so you walked up to the top of it, basically. It had like a 3-foot lip and just ice cold water in this thing, and it was massive. So there's, I don't know, maybe a dozen dolphins in there, probably less. But like I said, it was like 30 years ago. So the keepers are doing these commands and the whistle and the whole deal, and the dolphins are coming back to them and going back out, coming back. And they were selling these little like fry baskets of fish that you could feed. So I think it was like $2 for 10 fish or something. Today would be like $35 for the same amount of fish. So I got the fish, and there's like 6 in there, I think. And I'm doing like the hand commands that the keepers are doing. And as the dolphin comes, I give it to them. So I did this to get them to come to me, is the one that I was watching. Well, I was watching another one before I started to feed. So I watched the one where they had them come up and open their mouth, and the keeper put their hand in their mouth and then toss them a fish. So I had 3 fish left. So I did the come. Dolphin comes, throw him the fish. I do the hand command for him to open his mouth. It was this at the time. So he opens his mouth, and he's like, and I just reach right in. All those teeth. Oh my God, those teeth are terrifying. So reach right in and just pet his tongue, throw him the other 2 fish. He basically waves at me and takes off, like no harm. Boy, were the keepers there mad. Holy cow. So they flipped out, and my grandma showed up to yell at them, like my grandma kind of tore them a new one, which we were in the wrong. It was the 90s. It was a crazy time. But yeah, again, none of the animals got hurt. I don't know that anyone else learned the commands from me or saw what I was doing until I touched the actual animal. So I'm confident nobody like got that from me or got motivated by me to do something that stupid. And again, I say it's stupid. I could have got yanked right in that tank, or a savage bite, like even a cautious bite from this thing would have wrecked me. yeah, that's another disclaimer. I try to do these things when there's no one else around. Like, I don't attempt these when there's really anyone around anymore. Like, it's just me and whoever I'm with. So, and everybody goes to the zoo with me knows something's going to go down. Like, every time we've ever been and I'm there, something amazing happens that's never happened at the zoo before to us. Yeah, Green Jedi. I just wish I had the dog whistle. I wish I would have had a dog whistle with me. Oh my God, I'd have had them dolphins doing all kinds of stuff. If I'd been like, beep, beep, doing this motion, they were doing all kinds of spins. But I wanted to touch it. That's what I wanted to do, was touch a dolphin, and I got to do that. I need to go swim with them and open myself up to that kind of dolphin molestation, I guess. I don't want to be involved in that at all. So, saying that I do this when there's try to do this when no one's around. I will throw out that if there is an opportunity that I don't think I'll get again, I'll try to take it if there's a person there anyway. But I will bring myself out of it. Like, to the level of, we were at the Shed Aquarium, and the Shed Aquarium downstairs has this coral reef exhibit that's amazing. If you get to go to Chicago, you get to go to Shed. I'm going to do a video from there in April. We got a special guest coming into town. We're going to hit the Shed together, just the two of us, and it should be amazing. I'm going to film what I can. I'm going to get my GoPro all fired up with multiple little SD cards and try to film as much as I can, because I think it's going to be pretty epic. But anyway, as soon as you get downstairs to this coral reef, you walk forward, and there's like this open pool. That's a mangrove thing. There's fish in there. There's all kinds of cool fish that would be in the mangrove area. There's like a tide that comes in on the one side, and on the side that you're looking straight at, it's just flat, right? So the water's about this high, this much from the top. Let me get this out of here. So, sorry guys. I spent all day in the hospital today with a migraine. So kind of, Aqua Gardens, then you didn't miss much except the disclaimers. We'll just repeat, don't try this at home or at your local zoo. So we're walking in. It's me and my friend and his girlfriend and my wife. And I think their kid. I don't remember if the kid was there. But we get off the elevator. We turn to look, and I see there's a juvenile lemon shark in this tank. And he is headed for the top. Okay. See if we can find some more images for you guys. I don't think this is what I'm thinking it is. No, it's a leopard shark. Sorry. So he's headed for, yeah, I think this is it. That's not it either. I didn't even think of this story until I got to this. Here he is. Okay, is that it? No. Here we go. All right. Yeah, so this is the one. Oh, I don't know why it's doing that. This is the one on the right, on the top right. That's the shark. So it's juvenile. It's about 5 feet long. It's at, oh, thanks, Aqua Gardens. And I feel really good now, but I'm like groggy. So it comes to the top of the glass. I see it heading for the top. It's going right up the side of the tank to the top. And my wife sees it too. So she grabs my arm, and I kind of like pull my arm out, and I'm walking. It's like 15 steps. And I can hear my friend behind me, who is also my size, being like, dude. And the thing crests the water, and my hand comes over, and I put my hand right on its nose. And it just it doesn't even react. It like it happens to this thing every day. So it goes back down, and my shoulder gets grabbed, and I think it's my friend. And I look, and it's the security guard who is sitting literally right here. He's like 2 feet from where I didn't even see him. He was standing in the corner where the tank meets the wall, and I didn't even see him because I was like laser focused. So I did it literally in front of him. And he's like, "What are you doing, man? What are you thinking?" And there was no one else around. And I was like, "Oh, I worked here like 2 summers ago, and I fed some of these guys when I was interning here, and I got to like help raise the last batch or 2, and blah, blah, blah." I went in this whole story, and the guy's like, "Oh, okay, man, well, don't let anybody see you doing stuff like that." So he let us go. He didn't ask anybody for any credentials or anything. He just was like, whatever. No harm was done to either of us, me or the shark. Like I said, the shark, I was surprised it didn't even react. Like nothing happened. But that's how kind of focused I get on it. It's an obsession. It's a weird thing. Other things where they like allow you to touch stuff, like I kind of go above and beyond. They had a thing at the shed. At the shed, they had a thing where it's sturgeon. They have sturgeon swimming around in a tank, and you can, you do all the hand sanitizer up to your elbows, and then you can reach in and touch them. And they give you like 2 seconds to touch one, and that's it. Then they like yell at you, like, okay, you're done. So it's all these people in a line around a pool, and I was like, look, I kept moving because there was a line. I kept moving, but the thing was moving with me. The sturgeon was moving with me. So I was calf petting. The sturgeon clearly was into it because he was sitting there. So he was into it, man. It sounded really creepy. Oh my God. Sturgeon, also very smooth. Also that hard-boiled egg kind of a feel. But yeah, I was looking right at the lady. I was like, no, I'm not going to stop. I'm real sorry. I'm real sorry your job is yelling at people for doing something you're letting them do, but it's not happening. Tide pools are great. Like when they have a tide pool exhibit, I'm down. I don't usually put my hands in there because I don't know why. It's like you're allowed to. You have a sturgeon operculum. That's their nose bone or whatever, right? The duckbill kind of thing they have going on. Did you eat it? The bony gill plate. You should try to eat it, Jedi Monkey. Welcome in, Beetle Guy. We'll see when the first check out my porn pics person shows up. Not that that's associated with Beetle Guy, but I still have to make Beetle Guy like a mod. Because he's here every time. So anyway, so that was the sturgeon, the alligator snapping turtle they had at the one zoo, Bronx Zoo. I got to touch a red panda. That was cool. That was like late 90s. I just turned 21, so 27 years ago. I want to say it was like 97, 98. First trip to New York. Not at the zoo, but first time ever getting drunk. It was my last day in New York. We went to the Bronx Zoo, and I don't remember much about it. Just you can chew on that operculum. Just chew on it. Just gnaw on it. It's not about taste. It's about experience. That's what I tell myself on this show. So the red panda was there and out on a tree right there in front of us, and I reached right through. I was like, yeah, I know what these things are capable of. Like, I'm going to touch a red panda. If I get a scar, that's even a better story. Like, how'd you get that finger scar? Red panda, bro. I wouldn't have told anybody at the zoo. I'd have been like, oh, no, I bleed like this all the time. That's not me. I stubbed my finger. That had nothing to do with that panda. But again, there was no one there. It was like November 1st. We got to play Crack the Whip. I don't know if you guys are aware of, or if anybody's old enough to know what this is. So, Crack the Whip, when we played it, originally it was on roller skates. You formed a line of people on roller skates, and the line would start going, and the person in the back would be going back and forth, and then you had to go the farthest, right? You had to go the farthest back and forth, so eventually you got whipped off. And then the next person would get whipped off, and they just keep going. So this was a version of Crack the Whip. Got these weird little moths. I can't get it. So, self-applause. So this was that November 1st. There's no one at the zoo. It's like 10 people, including us. And these kids are on the trams. Whoever's driving their trams around, there's 2 kids driving and 2 kids on the very back hanging on to the outside of the tram. And they're playing Crack the Whip. They're going like top speed of the tram is probably 8 miles an hour. And they're just whipping back and forth. And we watched a kid fly off, and we're like, what the hell? Because we came around the corner and they almost hit us, is the thing. Like, they were not almost, but it was pretty close. It was close enough that we had adrenaline. And we were like, what the hell? And the kids are like, we're not, and we noticed they're playing Crack the Whip, so we coerced them into letting us play. Because it was literally, they're not supposed to be doing it in the first place. So we got to get on and try to hold on, and it was not easy. Yeah, I bruised myself up a little bit that day. So it's not just animal bad decisions. It's all kinds of people. But yeah, we got to touch the red panda there. We got to upset some primates. I don't know what it is about me, but I have a weird gift for upsetting primates. So I don't try to befriend them. I've never been keen on befriending a primate, but it's like something in my nature they don't like. So in this instance, it was the capuchin monkeys. They're in a house. It's like a long hallway, and the one side is nothing, and the other side is primates, like monkeys. Okay, so I know, Beetle Guy, it's weird. I don't really like people that much either. That's why I do like one at a time on the show and try to talk to you guys, but I can ignore you guys if I feel like it, which isn't as often as it used to be. So that's good. But yeah, the capuchins, for whatever, I don't remember what I did to get it started, but the alpha capuchin in this enclosure, there's like 8 of them maybe, and they all had these little pumpkins for Halloween. So like I said, it was November 1st. They had these little pumpkins, and they were all variously chewed up. So they are smart enough that they can tell I'm going to touch them. And they're smart enough to know like how to make me pay for it, which is why I've never intentionally tried to touch a primate. Like I've had a primate like experience or two, but yeah, they totally know I'm that guy. So these capuchins all of a sudden are like, the alpha is like smashing his pumpkin like at my face. Like I'm at the glass, and all of a sudden he comes flying in with this tiny pumpkin, and I almost fell. And he's slapping the glass and making his face at me like, ah. I was like, I don't even know what I did. So, but the next thing we did, we realized that they're angry for kind of no reason. So my idiot friend and I are running, like this is their enclosure, and we're just running back and forth in front of it. And I don't know why. We just kept doing it back and forth. We're sweating, we're breathing hard. And the capuchin was super angry. He was super angry about it. And the other ones were just like in the corner, like, let him settle down. And finally we stopped. We were just like, why is he doing this? We just couldn't figure out what the trigger was. And then I guess we kind of teased him. But yeah, I'd be upset if somebody did that today. Like if somebody did it in front of me, I'd be upset about it. To be fair, like we all make mistakes. We all make mistakes. But what was the thing with the apes? There was something I had with apes. Early date with the wife. This is a classic. She asked me not to tell the story, but early date with the wife. We're at Lincoln Park Zoo. We go to Lincoln Park Zoo because I heard they had a new troop of chimps, or some new chimps. Something about the chimps was new. They had some, they had interaction with touchscreens. The chimps were getting that, and I wanted to see it. Long story short, you don't get to see it. There's like a big shelf up in the top of their enclosure where they can go and interact with it, but you don't see that. Like you see them at the board, like touching stuff, but you can't see what they're doing. I thought you would. I thought you'd be able to get it. Side note, chimps are disgusting and horrifying. I am not about going to see chimps at the zoo ever again. I guess I do believe they shouldn't be in a zoo. Everything in their enclosure is painted with feces. They're just vile to each other. They don't care about the humans that are there at all. Apparently, they try to like trick their keepers into reaching in so they can rip their arm off. They're terrifying. So I'm not a fan of chimps, but I realized that very shortly. I was like, these things are gross. Because once you notice one poo streak, you notice all the poo streaks. It's like one of those hidden picture things. You're just like, oh God, they're everywhere. And I was not having it. Like I realized there's one like right here on the glass next to my face, like on the inside, obviously not near me, but and I hadn't even seen it until I saw it on the wall behind me or behind them. Anyway, you turn around and there's there's gorillas, right? I think they're lowland gorillas, right? So bonobos, yeah, still kind of grow. They seem more peaceful. They were at a different zoo. I don't remember what zoo I saw bonobos at, but I think it was Milwaukee Zoo. They were peaceful, but they were very standoffish. Like they didn't want anything to do with people. I didn't notice any poo streaks there, but they were not. It was hard enough to notice the bonobos. They were like off doing their own thing. I will say Milwaukee Zoo has a good setup for them. I don't know what a billy ape is. I'll have to Google that later. So the silverback is there, and he's inside the building. There's a glass thing, and you see them like right there, right? So he's there. I don't know how thick the glass was. I'm assuming it was about this thick. So he's huge. He's sitting down, but his shoulders, his back is like straight up, and his head is that perfect peak. And he's a monster. He's a monster, you guys. I've never been face to face with a monster before. Like that was a monster. So we see him, and he's just not he's not doing anything. He's bored. He's a silverback. He's a primate in the zoo. So people are staring at him all day. It's got to suck. So we go outside, and outside they have this big. It's like 3 big domes. So there's the building is at central, and then there's these 3 big domes outside. There may have been 4, but they're like covered in this like wire, okay, like steel wire. And so you can see them, you can smell them, you can everything. So there's a female out there. There's a mommy with a baby. And I'm like talking to the mommy. She don't care. She's foraging. She's picking up leaves. She's nibbling them. The baby's checking things. She's out there for the baby. He's out there checking things out, exploring. He's probably like a toddler, basically, a gorilla toddler. So I think I'm funny, and I go, I want to get a reaction. I want to interact, right? I want to get some kind of a reaction and see what happens. Stimuli. So I'm making noises, and think what I think are gorilla noises. Clearly, they're not. The gorilla doesn't care. They are gorillas. These are gorillas I'm talking about now. Yeah. Or billy apes are gorillas? I never heard of that. I'm going to check it out. So anyway, I pulled my shirt up. Again, it's like late in the season. It's like October, early November. That's time to go to the zoo, you guys. There's nobody there. It's your place to shine. Lincoln Park, there was still a lot of people there because it's people in the city can just walk through. So I do the on my stomach. I pull my shirt up, and I do that on my bare stomach. So this is it's to me and the gorillas, buddy. So she looks. She stops. She's doing it. She looks and looks past me. Looks around, and I go, oh, like that did something. That was something. So she goes back to what she's doing, and I'm trying to get her attention while she's looking at me. Nothing. So I do it again. And then the baby like goes behind her real quick. I guess I did it harder. My wife says later that I did it harder the second time. So she kind of like stiffens up and looks and kind of snorts. And I'm like, oh God, okay. Like a cross between a gorilla and a chimp. That's terrifying. Okay, I'm going to have to look that up. So the third time, long story short, the third time I did this, she made a noise. Not my wife. My girlfriend at the time was my wife. The female gorilla, mommy gorilla, made a noise. I don't know what it was. I didn't hear it. All I heard was, oof. And the silverback came charging out from in the house, straight at me. As he's coming, you guys, like there's this small tree that earlier the baby was kind of like climbing. It was a sapling, really. The baby was kind of like pulling it down and grabbing leaves off of it. He just ripped it out of the ground as he's coming, and he's coming straight at us. I was gone. There was like a smoke imprint of me, like an outline, like in the cartoons. And when it cleared, I was nowhere to be found. So I'm down the trail. I'm like 100 yards from this gorilla house now. No joke. I'm gone. Shoes have smoke coming off them. I was a distant memory. And I'm buckled over. My knees are down. Adrenaline spiked. I'm breathing hard. I'm sweating. I'm like, oh my God. I can't believe we got away. I can't believe that happened. And I look, and my wife's not there. My girlfriend at the time, my wife was not there. She fell. She got so scared. She fell. I didn't even see that. I was just gone. So I get back to her, and like a regular, person, I was like, why didn't you run? Because now I've got to go back to her, where maybe this savage gorilla is loose. Like in my head, I knew he didn't get loose, but in the story, yeah. So I go save my wife. I go save her. She was pissed, understandably so. She was so pissed. Not only did I make this gorilla upset, but that I left her there to die. And I was like, look, I can't carry you. I can't just put you on my shoulder and run away from a gorilla. Like, we got to go. You played dead. That was good. That was good instinct. So, yeah. So we don't mess with the apes anymore. I don't try to stimulate or interact with apes anymore. Like, if they look and they're interested, cool. But, like, they do stuff that I don't even have a part of. Like, we were at I don't remember what zoo we were at this time. But we travel to all these zoos whenever we go somewhere. We go to a local zoo. But spider monkey, big spider monkey. They stand about 4 feet tall. With their arms out, they're like 7 feet tall, right? Their arms touching up. So their cage that they had a chain link fence over the top of it that they would just swing around the whole thing. Big glass window. So just eastern chimpanzees that people thought were in this species. Okay. Was it that one, like, they eat kids and stuff, the billy apes? I forget the name of that one that was, like, killing people on purpose. in the wild. He was pretty scary looking. But yeah, it just came up to me. I was like tapping the glass to try to get another one's attention, like just slapping my hand on it. And he swings right up. I didn't see him coming. Just all of a sudden, I got monkey belly in my face. And he lets go and he's slapping the glass all the way down, like threatening me. And I was like, what? So he just kept doing it. I don't know what he was mad about me. There was other people there. I don't know what I did. But yeah, they don't, monkeys don't like me. So I don't try to mess with monkeys. No, birds, on the other hand. There's another way I think it started. So I've been told this story, and I have a picture of me with a black eye as a 5-year-old, like a Mike Tyson black eye, like Mike Tyson gave it to me, not like he had one. We're at the restaurant or whatever, at the zoo or at picnic tables, and the geese, damn Canadian geese, they just flock there and try to bully you into dropping food. So my grandpa was shooing one off, and it hissed at him. It like flexed its wings a little bit and hissed. And I walked straight up to it and smacked the goose in the face. Like, don't hiss at my grandpa, is what I've been told I said. So as soon as I smacked him, my grandpa told me that wing came around and hit me in the eye, took me clean off my feet. He said there was a skid mark in the ground where you hit. So I get up and I'm dazed, I'm crying, I'm upset. And yeah, savage black eye. My grandpa's like peeing his pants laughing as I'm semi-conscious on the ground, dazed and confused from this goose slap. Because at the time he said he'd never seen anything funnier than that. Yeah, he couldn't even comfort me. He did nothing to comfort me whatsoever till later. And all he did to comfort me, my mom and dad said, is that he said, that was a good shot. You took that shot like a champ. So, like I said, man, the 70s and 80s, they were a wild time. So that might be where my hatred of Canadian geese started. But it's going to get worse before it gets better, I feel like. And I don't think it'll ever get better. I can't stand a Canadian goose. Other geese, I don't really have a problem with them. I don't really have a problem with other geese. Geese are savages. Swans are savages. I was making my way to pet we were at a Kentucky Down Under, if anybody's ever heard of it. It's an Australia-themed park that is in Kentucky. So a couple cool things happened there. We've been there 3 times, I think, on our way to Florida. So it wasn't a destination until we went there. Then it was like, we're going there on the way. We're definitely stopping, spending the day at Kentucky Down Under. So the first time, though, they have this big outdoor thing, and there's kangaroos jumping around. There's, I think there was an emu. There's a bunch of other stuff just running around in this big open area. And so we're hanging out. There's like a 12-foot high fence, however big enough you need it to be that a kangaroo can't jump over it. I had a big one bite my hand and drew blood. A goose bit your hand and drew blood? The hell? I didn't know that was possible. Anyway, so at this little lake, they have a pond, and there's black swans there. We see the black swans, and there's one sitting by the lake, and it doesn't seem at all interested in us. So, oh, that's scary back there, his eyes. What are you doing, Widget? So, I start to walk towards the swan. And this girl who's giving us a tour, I should mention, has a leg brace on from her hip to her foot. And she has crutches. She has like the crutches that attach here, and they're the walking cane kind of crutches. I don't know if there's a name for them. I don't know. But she's using those with this massive leg thing that she has on. It's not a cast. It's like a strap thing. Her leg is strapped into it. It's like a giant version of that boot you wear when you sprain your ankle. So she stops me with the crutch. She's like, no, sir. I'm like, what? She says, they have a nest. And 3 weeks ago, I went over to see what they were doing. I got too close. The female jumped off the nest, smacked me in the knee with her wing, and basically sent my knees cap spinning around the other side of my leg. So this thing wrecked her knee from one swipe of its wing. Like, that's insane. Like, the muscles involved to get like a 30-pound bird or 25-pound bird off the ground have to be insane. So don't approach a large bird, you guys, that's on the ground. Yeah, it's not a good idea. Not a good idea. Yeah, she got the crap beat out of her. She got literally like temporarily crippled by a swan. So yank your hand out. Now, see, okay, so yeah, aquatic birds have those weird mouths. So at Brookfield, I'm still convinced they have a couple things in place because of things that I've done, like extra barriers between you and the animals. So they have a thing there, though, where they have the penguins, and in the back of this Pacific Coast house that they have, it's pretty new, it's pretty cool. But in the back, there's like this outside. It's like you're outside. There's a big dome. There's birds flying around. And it's literally based on back in the day, they harvested guano for various purposes. I guess it's like almost like a mortar, this particular guano. So they harvested it and they hauled it out of there. But what they didn't know at the time is that it was a mountain of this guano up under these cliffs. So where these birds nested. I don't remember the name of the birds. They have them at Brookfield, but there's little flying birds that go out over the ocean and catch eels or something, little fish. Russ would know. Russ would know what they are for sure. So they're there flying loose. And as these people took all the guano out, not of the building, but out of the nature thing, it devastated the habitat. So the birds, whatever they ate had something to do with the guano. So they all died off because they couldn't have their nest there. Yeah, fertilizer is a good thing. So yeah. These are water pigeons. They have these cool little like whoop off their eyebrows. They're super cool little birds. But their favorite hobby is to dump on people that are walking around loose in this area that they're flying loose in. They like to. I'm convinced they like to crap on people. So I don't like to go out where they have access. But anyway, in that area, there's a little like 3-foot high wall, and past that wall is the pool for the penguins. So there's a little bar there to keep kids from getting too close. But if you're me, you can reach over that bar and you can actually reach to the water. So there was a penguin right there just hanging out. So I reached over to pet the penguin, and I got her like right behind. I don't know why it was a her to me, but I'm scratching her right behind the neck. So she's just like, oh, yeah, okay, that's cool. Well, I'm paying so much attention, like that laser focus is there. I don't see the other one. I don't see her friend coming to tell me that's not allowed. So I got bit by a penguin the same time I touched a penguin. So the one that bit me, I yanked my hand like Aqua Gardens End was talking about. I yanked my hand out, and I had some deep scratches. But now looking up penguin mouths, if you guys want to Google the inside of a penguin mouth, it is a horror show. But their beaks are pretty strong, so it felt like someone just took pliers and like jammed on my finger hard. So it scared the hell out of me. But yeah, again, there was no one around that day. It was just me. There was no keepers. I've only experienced keepers while I was in my little zone twice. Once was with a bat, free-flying bats at Brookfield. They have them in the Australia house. I don't think they're free-flying anymore. I think they have a net up. And that's because the bats were they're generally hand-raised now, and they have interaction with keepers every day so that they can make sure that they're healthy. So they're acclimated to humans. So they will, and it's happened to me, I had one land on me, on my back. Did it scare the hell out of me? Yes. Did I jump? No. Like, I knew what happened immediately, but I didn't. Like, anti-leprosy. You nailed it, Guy Bob. So, I'm sitting on the railing. There's no one else there. I'm there alone. I'm just watching the bats fly. Very zen experience. Totally still. Probably for 5-10 minutes. Completely still, just watching the bats. And one just lands on my back. So these are the big, like Australian fruit bats, the flying fox. So it was a hefty bat that hit me. And I just sat there and was like, oh, okay. What happens now? So I'm sitting still, and I'm trying to feel if it crawls up to my neck. So it doesn't. It crawls around upside down on my arm to the landing, and then it sits there. It just sits there hanging. So again, I'm scratching it like here. And it's just like, okay, all right, that's dope. And eventually it just, I had stuff to do, so I had to get out of there. But I would have stayed there the rest of the day. So the other time, though, in that bat house that I experienced a keeper, there's doors into the flying bat area. So there's these little swinging doors. And above the door, there's a plexiglass thing that's like 2 feet tall. And then it's just this mesh, this net mesh that they could get onto. There's a bat hanging there. So I get through the door, I notice him, and I put my hand up, and he starts to get closer. Like, I can't reach him. He starts to get closer. So I take my hat off. I'm like, okay, let's see what happens. So I put my hat up there. I think he'll touch my hat. That's all I want. I want the bat to touch my hat. That's all. Then the day is mine. I've won the day. Well, that didn't happen. Bat climbs into my hat, starts climbing down my arm. So I'm like, no. And so on the other side of this door, now, a keeper has appeared. So outside the door, there's a keeper. Inside the door with me, there's this old lady who's a docent. Now, the docents are like volunteers that tell you stuff you already know about the animals. They're for kids, but I guess they get bored and they like to tell you their stuff. So I just let them, like, oh, yeah, no kidding. Oh, bats fly? What? Echolocation? What? How did you say that again? Just let them have their time. They earned it. Anyway, the keeper's mad. She's literally like, what are you doing there? Well, nothing. What do you got in your hat? I don't know. Where are you going to put it down? I don't know. I'm sorry, ma'am. I don't know. The docent behind me is like, hey, can you just see what, she kept her total cool. She was the best old lady ever. She's like, can you just see what color bands he has on his right wing? And so they had the bands, the marking bands, like basically here, I guess it would be, right? So I look and I'm like, oh, he has pink over blue. She's writing it down. She's like, is it light blue or dark blue? I said, light blue, pink over light blue. She's like, okay. So she tells the keeper, and the keeper's like, thank you. And so the keeper comes in, gets the bat off me, and takes him back. They have like a big cage, flying cage in the back of this thing. Kind of puts him in there. She comes back. She's like, we'd appreciate it if you don't touch any more of the animals. This is like 25 years ago. This one was hand raised, and that's why he's so into people. Like, he has no fear of people, and like, you're kind of showing him that it's okay to interact with guests. And I was like, oh, my bad. Like, but I had to do this. Like, this had to happen. So anyway, I didn't get yelled at or kicked out or anything, but I did, obviously picture some jerk coming to your job and kind of telling you, like, yeah, I get that you know what you're doing, but I'm going to completely disregard that and do it my way anyway. I know how to count money. I work at a bank. If someone came in and was like, I know how to count money, I'm just going to go in the back and count all your money and verify it. I just like to touch money. I'd be understandably upset. So I totally get it. I feel like that a lot of these keepers have been more than patient with me over the years and probably deserve an award, like telling them how to do their jobs with enrichment. That was a big thing. I was in a kick for enrichment for a long time. Telling keepers how to do it, like telling zookeepers how to offer their animals enrichment, and getting completely blown off. Like, yeah, we know. Well, if you know, why aren't you doing it? That's my only question. Why aren't you doing it if you're so smart? Not to disrespect my many, many zookeeper friends that have been on the show. I don't know why those episodes aren't more traveled or viewed, because to me, they're amazing. But recently, we just went to the zoo last week, the week before, maybe 2 weeks ago. My mom and my daughter and I, a week ago Monday, we go to Brookfield, and they have this reptile house that has it's a hallway, essentially a long hallway with a door at each end. You get in and out, and on each side are tanks and enclosures for different reptiles, mostly lizards and some amphibians, but mostly lizards, some snakes. Obviously, snakes will never do things in a zoo. They never excite me. But then, kind of like a T, like very in the center of the hallway, there's an alcove off to the side that you can go in, and there's free-flying birds in there. So usually it used to be parrots, and there were some ducks and some like little songbirds were in there, like some rainforest songbirds. Well, I didn't know, but recently they put the cock of the rock in there. So they have a male and 3 females, and they put them in there. They were in this huge thing that was in another building. So I assumed they were still there. I didn't even think about it until I'm in the hallway, and no birds are supposed to be allowed in that hallway. But I hear something go by my head, and it's just us in there. It's me, my daughter, and my mom. And I look, and it's the female cock of the rock. And I'm like, oh my God. So if she gets out, like if one of these doors opens, she could bounce. She's going to be gone. Like, they're not tame at all. They're keeping them like kind of as wild as possible. So she's going to be gone. So I'm worried that somebody's going to come in the door and push the, like they have the buttons for like wheelchair access or something, or for someone with a walker, where the door just opens automatically and it stays open like 30 seconds. And it opens both. There's a double door, so it opens both double doors, and it stays open for like 30 seconds. More than enough time for a bird to be like, oh, cool, freedom, see ya. But these birds are from like the rainforest. There's no way they survive in Chicago right now, or Chicagoland. So anyway, I start yelling. I knock on the doors that I'm near on one end. The other end is, 40 yards away. So no one's coming to the door. So I start yelling like, oh my God, oh my leg, oh, somebody help. 2 keepers come out and they're like, oh, what's the problem? What's going on? I'm like, your bird is out, and they look at me first like they're annoyed that I upset them. And then they hit some button inside that locks the doors down. And they're like, you guys are okay with being in here, right? Because you can't leave because she'll get out. I'm like, we're cool. We want to see how they're going to do it. And my mom's like, this is so cool. This never happens. We want to see how they're going to contain a loose bird. So free flying, full flight loose bird that's a little bigger than a pigeon, not a stocky. Picture a fit pigeon, right? Brown, got a little mohawk, cool looking bird. What do you guys think they did to catch it? I'm just gonna throw it out there. The door to where it flies around is closed. Where it normally flies around, where all its friends are, and its food and its perch and all of that is closed. It doesn't have access to that anymore. What do you guys think they did to catch this thing? I'll give you a couple seconds. We'll talk about something else while you tell me, the several of you that are here, tell me what you think they did to catch this bird in this hallway. They locked the doors. No one can get in or out. But in the meantime, they used to have, well, you guys come up with that. Do they have a command? No, they don't have a command. There is not these are basically wild birds. So we'll cut away while everybody comes up with their ideas. Taser would have been so cool to watch, but no. They used to have this big mountain thing in the middle of Brookfield Zoo right when you first come in. It's an enclosed mountain. Actually, they used to have 2 of them. One is for goats, ibex, and one was for baboons. And so the baboons was like one of the biggest reasons to go to Brookfield Zoo. It was this huge, literally a mountain in the middle of the zoo. And there was like a pit that they got to get into and then a high wall that they couldn't get up. So, but it was in disrepair. So they kind of just took it out and put something else down there. So they, oh, Miles, that would have been good. So during cicada years, we would go, and there were trees that overlapped this wall for the baboons. And we'd grab a branch and shake it, and hundreds of cicadas would just kind of fall heavily into the baboon area, and they would just feast on cicadas for however long the season lasted. But like the last time we went, and the last time they had it during the cicada year, the baboons were just like, oh my God, I can't eat another one. But then they'd see it go by, they'd be like, okay. It was the coolest thing. So, all right, let's see. Who's up? They didn't call in the chimps. They didn't use a shotgun. A pillowcase and a broom would have been nice. They did use nets. So the nets they got were, so 4 people come out with nets on like a 5-foot rod. There's like a 15-foot ceiling in this building. The nets are about this big around, you guys. Literally, I'm not making it up. They're like a butterfly net. Okay, seriously, it's butterfly net is what I'm thinking it is, with like a sturdier cloth to it, right? But it's a butterfly net. So they're jumping and swinging at this bird as it goes by. No, there was no falconer involved. I'm still trying to get a falconer on the show, but she hasn't been in contact lately. So they're kind of smacking this bird around with these nets. And I was getting mad. I was getting like visibly upset about this. So my mom and my sister, my mom and my daughter and I were sitting on this bench. I get up from the bench, go across to the door to their thing, and hold it open. And the one keeper's like yelling at me, like, hey, we got this. And I was like, I know, and I'm standing behind the door. There's no way the bird's coming in contact with me. I'm like, I'm giving it the option just flying here and not get creamed by a net. As I'm saying this, I can visibly see the bird look at the open door, starts to take flight, and this kid, I don't know who this kid was there working there. He's like 20 years old, maybe. Glorious kid. Literally jumps up Jordan style and just nothing but net, grabs his bird, and they have him. And so the reason they didn't want me to open the door, this is why I should just listen to the keepers, is if she got in there, she was just going to get out again. They were never going to catch her once she was in there. It's all live trees, and she could stay at the top and avoid them. This way, they could put her in little bird jail. So listen to the keepers. I almost made it a tragedy. I almost made it a bad thing. They'd have to watch for this bird for the next 10 days. But they knew better. They knew better. I concede. I see issues where they know better. Yeah, they saved the bird, but we got to see it. I did almost have one of them land on my finger once in the free flying area, or my hand. It was thinking about it, or thinking about giving me a bite. I don't know. It was close. It was close. Keeper got upset about that, and I was like, oh, fine. That's the same building I got bit by a little toucan, who was more tame than I thought. Yeah, pet stores everywhere. We've just been crazy about handling animals. It's nuts. I just have to see if I can do it. And to be fair, I have like expert level restraint skills for cats and dogs, birds, small mammals. Like I would train people. I would go tri-state area in the Midwest. I would go all over the Midwest to different vet clinics, the Banfield vet clinics, and train people how to restrain, or to PetSmart grooming clinics to train people how to restrain dogs and cats safely and well. That gives you trying to give you an idea of kind of how I can tell when they're going to be aggressive, or tell when it's going to react, or whatever with the animal. Granted, it doesn't include alligators or snakes or whatever. One of our friends at the show, I got to hold an anaconda. That was dope. I never had a fear of constrictors at all. I didn't understand why people were upset about constrictors. I'm like, just grab them by the throat, or crush their head in your hand, or whatever. Why can't you just get away from a constrictor? What's wrong with you? Then someone draped an 11-foot, 10-foot anaconda on my neck. And I'll tell you what, guys, every hair on my body stood up. I knew the snake was as tame as a snake can get. And I knew it was pretty much essentially no harm to me whatsoever, no danger. And my whole body clenched up. My whole body was like, this isn't good. This isn't good. Get it off. I calmed down, but just to feel a 10-foot length of muscle around your neck, if that thing wanted me, there's nothing I could have done about it. It's so crazy to see people do stupid things with constrictors now that I know that. Well, you don't think about it. You think they're just being stupid. And yes, they are. But there's not a lot you can do. Like if you lose your noodle over that, you're going to probably be in a bad situation. Like you got to keep your noodle together. We're going to call it noodle today. We're not going to try to swear. I don't know if you can tell I'm really, really trying hard not to. The other time, speaking of good stories, we had an okapi. Do you guys know what an okapi is? Anybody? Anybody know offhand what an okapi is? Let me get a picture here. Here we go. Why is that not showing it? There we go. Nope, not gonna do that. All right, this is, it's not in there anymore. So an okapi is kind of like, it is an animal from Africa. Yep. Let's see if we can share this screen here. There we go. Okay. There we go. This is an okapi. So, or okapi. I don't know how they do it. You pronounce it like. Talk to you later. Ruby Sosa's here. Love your artwork, Ruby. I kind of check Ruby's page every day for the artwork that she's doing. Nice haircut too, by the way. So these guys feel just like velvet. At Brookfield Zoo, they are behind there's like a 2 or 3 foot barrier. So you have these branches. They made it look kind of natural, right? So there's these branches that are kind of a barrier to you, keeping you away. And then 2 or 3 feet of space. And then their bars are just branches, like tree branches. I'm pretty sure they're fake. But so it looks like you're looking at them through tree trunks, like really thin tree trunks, saplings, whatever. Horse, giraffe, zebra. Yes, that's what okapi means in African. Zimbabwean. I don't know. Zebra rumped deer. Okay. So yeah, so it was sitting right there on the other side. Right there on the other side. Right where I can reach. So I do. I reach over, reach through, and I'm scratching it right behind the ear. Again, that's the key spot, you guys. No, don't pet stuff by the head. If you're going to pet stuff, against the will of the zookeepers, don't pet them by the head. Okay, this is where I go every time, but don't do it. They could just whip their head around and grab you. So, that said, that's what I'm doing. So, and it's just eating whatever. It's chewing its cud, right? It's just, there's nothing there for it to eat, so it's got to be eating something that it already had. So I'm petting it. It's like velvet, and I'm like, every nerve in my body is like, this is amazing. And so after like 5-10 minutes, my wife is just mad that she can't do it. She's next to me. She's like, I can't reach that at all. I hate you. And I was like, get on my shoulders. I don't know what to tell you. Like, we're going to get busted, but get on my shoulders. Anyway, 5-10 minutes goes by. I don't know. It was like one of those things where you first hold a girl's hand. Like, it's an eternity. It's been 3 minutes, but you've lived 3 lifetimes. You've married her, had kids, died in her arms, all of that. Am I a romance? I think I'm a romance. So that was my experience then. Nothing happened. Nobody was around. Nobody came in. Nothing. It was me and my wife and the okapi. It was a very intimate experience, right? Very close-knit group. The next time, it's me and my wife and a zookeeper, whom I had just passed, who is feeding these dwarf little antelope things. They're like this big. It's called a dik-dik. This big, which I've pet them too, but that wasn't that exciting. Or they came up to me, essentially, is what happened. I offered them the opportunity to have contact. So the okapi's there again. It's in the same spot. It's the same okapi. And I'm like, oh, yes. So I'm over there, and I'm being as quiet as I can, and I'm reaching through, and I'm totally laser focused again. And I'm this far away. And the keeper's like, hey, could you not do that? And I look over, and I'm still moving. I'm like, what? What do you mean? She's like, we don't want you petting the animals. I said, oh, it's okay. I'm a professional. I can do this. Like, I was so focused, like I was trying to like hypnotize her or something to let me do this again. And they feel like velvet. I don't know. Did I say that already? They feel like velvet, like thick velvet curtain type material. So she's like, well, what are you going to do if that thing bites your finger off? And she's really good natured about it. She was very good natured. She wasn't upset at all. She was just like trying to talk me out of it. She didn't even move from where she was. And I said, are you serious right now? What a cool story. If you lose a finger, everyone's going to ask you how you lost that finger. And you get to tell them, like, one of the rarest animals in Africa bit my finger off for no reason whatsoever. What a great story. So, again, I would not at all. I would tourniquet or something and get the hell out of the zoo and get to an emergency room and make something up how I lost my finger. I would not blame the okapi whatsoever. It's not his fault. It's my fault for being in his space. But I didn't get to touch it that time. But I did have a good conversation with the zookeeper. Talked to us for like 30 minutes. So, and my wife was embarrassed the entire time, but we were just going back and forth about different animals that have come through that building. And it was a great time. It was just a great time. So when you get somebody like that, it's a good experience. Like, you can open those doors, I guess. But again, like, yeah, I don't recommend you do what I do. But I will say I cherish those memories. There's a bunch more. Like I said, I got to pet a tiger that one day at the reservation. You were supposed to, though. You're not supposed to, but you were allowed to under supervision. A lion, a female lion, she lion. What else? I've never pet a bear. That's a goal. Or touched a bear. I shouldn't say pet, but if I had a chance to get like one pinky towards the back end, towards the rump area, definitely back of a leg, something. Boop, one hair. That's all I want. Nowhere near the face. Nope. Seen too many YouTube videos of that stuff going wrong. Let's see. Bison. That didn't really count. It's kind of like petting a cow. Sucked. Penguin would be cool. Oh, Jedi, my arm span's like 6 feet, and I can really stretch out like I'm willing to put it out there to get to these animals. So baby sharks, they had baby, I don't know what kind of sharks they were, but they were about this long in this big tank in Indianapolis. And their skin was like kind of see-through. You see veins right in the skin. So I don't know what species they were or whatever. They were kind of sturdy looking, but they were like this long. Have I pet a cat? Yeah, I have 2 asshole cats that I live with that I've pet repeatedly. Had a not so proud moment with one of them recently, but yes, I pet cats. Sharks are pretty cool. So I wanted to pet the shark. It was in a pool that you were able to pet them, but they weren't coming near. There were a lot of kids. They were splashing, trying to get to the sharks, splashing like they would it when you try to go to like one of those stingray things. So they're there. They're swimming around. There's some stingrays in there too, but they're coming like 2 or 3 feet away from where you could reach. So me, being the genius I am, I roll my sleeves up. I have a shirt just like this on, but it was gray. Roll my sleeves up, hand my wife my jacket, tell her I'm going to pet a shark. So her and her 2 friends are there. And like, you're never going to reach the shark. So what I do is I start to walk out on my hands, and I leave. That was a real good visual, right? Let me just be what a great cameraman I am. Start to walk out on my hands. So my legs are just, out on the thing. So I'm literally like, I think my knees were past the edge of this thing. And I'm out on my hands, and I get a shark. They're brushing my arm. I'm patting them. I'm really chill. And I don't realize that my shirt isn't tucked in. So it's just dragging in the water. It's just hanging there. The whole thing from like here down, just hanging in the water. So I start to come back, and it's like 35, 40 degrees outside, and the entire front of me now, because when I stood up, I tried to wring it out as best I could, but the whole front of me is soaked, like head, tits to toes, I guess. Oh, yeah, it was bad news. So that wasn't smart, but I got to touch that shark. I still held that. I was super sick like 3 days later, but it was awesome. Cousin was bitten by a wallaby. I mean, that probably would suck. I got bit by an emu, and that sucked. Like, he meant it. He was angry. I paid to touch that animal. Like, that was a thing. Like, you cannot touch a emu where it can't reach you. It's gonna get you. I imagine getting bit by a wallaby, like getting bit by a big sheep or something, like that kind of teeth, or like a cross between. Let's look it up. I've never been bitten by a wallaby. I got kicked by one, but it was kind of a side scrape type of situation. It was just trying to get up and got me. Used me for leverage, I think. Let's see what wallaby teeth look like, you guys. All right, here's their skull. All right, let's take a look. All right. Yeah, this would kind of suck. Yeah, that would kind of suck. I imagine that she was not having a good day that day. Was she okay? Did she need stitches or something? I got bit real bad by one of those lorikeets that's in one of those free fly things. It didn't drop blood or anything, but she definitely whined about it. I mean, look at those. I think if those back teeth got you, that would suck. Not the back, the bottom incisors, I guess. That would mash the crap out of your finger. I got bit by a horse. That sucked. It is strange. Like, what are they mashing against that tooth? Like, what's the point of that? Are they just mashing grass against there? It's mostly what they eat, right? Just grass, I'm guessing. Weeds and stuff. Ground plants. With those teeth, I'm going to guess aloe vera. Sticks. I don't know. I don't know much about a wallaby except they're adorable. Yeah, I got bit by one of those lorikeets. It was hanging off the lens cap of the video camera I was using. That's a dated story as well. The lens cap was hanging by a string, and he was hanging upside down off of that, biting the string. I didn't want him to fall, so I put my hand up under him to support him. So he got onto my hand, and just grabbed the finger and bit the living crap out of it. So maybe. I think no, that's a real skull. Yeah, I don't know, man. I just pulled that off the internet. I probably shouldn't be showing pictures that aren't mine. I just pulled that off the internet for reference. So I don't know. I think is the URL there? Yeah, it's down at the bottom. They got credit, I guess. I don't know how that works. I'm not making money off this. I can show stuff, I'm guessing. I don't know how YouTube works, but it's not monetized. We had $2.99 again and went back down to $2.98 this morning. So we'll stick 300 in a minute. Trying to think of some of the other more rare stuff that I've handled. I don't know. I jumped on the back of an alligator in Florida. Like, it was when this is a wild alligator. This is not a thing. This is just, was down in Florida. I had a girlfriend, not my wife, previous girlfriend to the wife. I was like 23, fit, had a runner's kind of a build. Didn't run, but I had a runner build. I was wiry. Very little body fat. Very proud of that body. I'm okay with my body now. 29 again now. All right. Beetle, you got to keep making accounts. Yeah, it was a wild alligator. So her parents were loaded and lived in Florida on a golf course. So we all know golf courses in Florida are chock full of alligators. So me and her dad are out on the back porch looking at a water trap that butts up on their property. There's like a water trap, a couple trees, then it's their yard, and then it's us. So I see this alligator come out of the water into their yard, and it's big. It was not a joke, alligator, guys. This was a big alligator. Not like a monster. It wasn't, Steve Irwin. Steve Irwin was huge at the time. Steve Irwin was my god. Watched him religiously. So I knew what I was doing, you guys. I had seen it done a million times to Salties. I was ready. So I was super hungover, probably still a little drunk from the night before because we had hit some clubs. And I told her dad, I was like, Jeff, I'm going to go jump on that alligator. And he said, the F you are. He said, that wasn't a phrase. He said, no, you're effing not. And I was like, set my drink down and I just took off. So the alligator turned to get away, to get in the water. And I, like literally a spread eagle, jumped on the alligator, put my hands over the eyes, just like a pro. I got my legs out to the sides. I'm tucked in with my arms. I'm like on her. So she dropped. I'm guessing it's female. I don't know. It's always a girl. I don't know why. It's weird. It says something weird about me. So she drops flat. And I'm like, I got her. This is awesome. This is awesome. Then it occurs to me, how do you get off? Like, yeah, jumping on you did it. But how do you get off? So, yeah, I don't recommend it. I mean, have somebody around that could do something. So we were like 10 feet from the water, me and this alligator. And I'm on its back, her back. I'm on her back. And she's growling like there's a rumble, right? You can feel like you're sitting on a Harley, right? There's this brrr. And I'm like, oh, shit, this is bad. Like, how do I get off? That's a problem. Like, now what do I do? So, and the dad, Jeff, is like yelling at me. His daughter, Beth, comes out screaming. And I was like, can everybody just dial it down? Well, at this point, the alligator just gets up. Just stands up like I'm not even there and starts walking towards the water. I'm still covering its eyes. I'm guessing it can smell. Yeah, so I jumped off. I just basically took my hand off, back paddled off the body, and took a clip in the ankle from the tail. Just a little like, get out of here. Which I guess it could have wrecked my whole leg if it was really swinging that tail, but it just kind of was a, F you kind of a thing. So I got away. I was unscathed. So that was a thing. That was a wild animal encounter. So yeah, touching these things at the zoos is not that out there. I still missed it. It's not that out there. It's a wild animal thing too. Wild dogs, like dogs that are in the neighborhood that aren't supposed to be, like I'll go grab them. I've helped our area catch feral cats. Not physically, I didn't go run and grab them out of trees or anything, but figuring out how to get them to go into traps. We've been there and to help them get them out. All kinds of stuff. So I guess I do have some training in that kind of thing. So, I don't want to say a professional, but I essentially, technically, I guess I am. I don't like to do this stuff anymore because I'm just old. I'm old and scarred up. All my scars from doing nail trims on animals. I don't have any cool scars. Like there's no bite marks on me from a Rottweiler or anything. It's all from doing a nail trim. So, but yeah, Steve Irwin was king. That guy would hold anything. I think he was an influence on a lot of this, having to touch everything, because like he just made it look so effortless, and he had that connection with the animals. I don't have that connection. I do okay, but I don't have that connection with animals. Like he was, I don't know, something about that dude was like a superpower. So, yeah, guys, I don't know. Don't do this at home. We had the Raven. Do you guys ever have like bird shows where you're at, where they have the birds out doing performances? They had it at Brookfield, where like you went and there's a stage and these trainers came out and they had the birds doing different things on cue. And at one point they had a raven that you'd hold out a bill, and the raven would come fly to you and get the bill and then fly it back and put it in this thing. And then he'd come back for another one. So, you know, I pull out my bill. I'm like, oh, hell yeah, this is going to be awesome. All I had was a 5. You know, the smallest bill I had was a 5. So I pull that out. And the raven flies up, and I just wouldn't let go. I was just like scratching this raven. And he was down right under his wing. He was down. And the lady's like, oh, sir, can you just give him the $1? Won't do it at home. I will do it at the zoo. Yeah. I feel like there might be medical staff on training at the zoo. I don't really have a thing. I don't really have a love of feral cats. I would help get a dog that got loose back into its yard or something. Because I think a dog loose could be dangerous to kids or other pets. But I don't, feral cats aren't going to bother you unless you bother them. So I despise feral cats. Like we've had, or cats that are like outdoor cats that aren't fixed. Yeah, I can't get by that. Like that's just a bad situation. They had a hawk and it flew away. Yeah, Ruby at the Brookfield one, they brought out this great horned owl, and they're like, yeah, this is, I don't remember what his name was, but they're like, this is so and so, and he's gonna go grab this meat from this lady that's 100 yards away, and so just watch him. And they let the owl go. The lady's got her arm out. She's got a big fake glove on. She's got an arm out with this piece of meat. And the hawk just kept going, and the whole zoo erupted. Like everybody around there, like we got an owl loose in this woods, blah blah blah. So everyone scattered, and the rest of them like, well, let's go to the next bird. Like they just went like nothing happened, while everyone else took off to find this owl. It was so funny. And I was like, yeah, it's a great horned owl. It's probably a big part of your show. Yeah, outdoor cats are I don't know, they're a big thing for me. Like if your cat, being indoors is like their enclosure, like your house is their enclosure. And I get that it's not natural, but they're domesticated. They're not natural animals. So they're not supposed to be here. They did find a beetle guy. They did find the owl. Somehow they coerced it to come back down out of the tree. I don't know what they did, because that owl was like, see ya. He just went into the sky. So he went so far that it wasn't worth our while. My friend and I were like, let's go find where the owl went. Let's go chase it. You know, let's go see where it wound up. But it went so far in 10 seconds that we were just like, no, let's just finish the show. Let's just watch the show and go get a beer or something. It was too far to even try to go look and see how they got it, because I was super interested in that. Brookfield also had a program where they had, what was it? Golden lion tamarins. They had golden lion tamarins, and they were doing a breeding program, and then they were they were preparing them to be released into the wild. So they had collars on them, and they had them outside. They just had them loose in the zoo. And I don't know if they had like a invisible fence situation, or if they went too far, they got a shock or something. But they definitely could track them 24/7. And then one of them, I think, got taken out by a falcon or a bald eagle or something. So they discontinued that program. But you would be walking around the zoo and just see a pair of golden lion tamarins like up in a tree randomly. And it was kind of awesome. That was neat to see, like, what the hell? Like, what's a monkey doing in an oak tree? Like, that's really weird. You don't see that every day. Oh yeah, if you do get drunk at the zoo, it used to be pretty reasonable. I don't think it is anymore. If you do get drunk at the zoo, most zoos you can bring your own with you. You don't need to have like a chaperone or anything. You just bring your own cooler. Just focus on making fun of the people, I think, is the highlight there. Like, we made fun of the people more. We didn't do anything to the animals or mess with the animals at all when we had a few, but messing with the people was a lot of fun. That's the entertainment there. Or just watching people do dumb stuff at the zoo is a lot of fun too. I find that people today don't. Social media has us so programmed not to look around more than 4 feet away from ourselves that we don't notice things that are, or acknowledge the things that are around us. So we don't think about the people that can see our behavior. So they just do things that are ridiculous or ignorant or both or stupid or intentionally ignorant. So it's fun to kind of call that behavior out. I don't really have the courage to do that most of the time unless there's been a beer or two involved. Or I do have the old man thing now, like, why you gotta be like this? That is, I love that power. I love that gift to just be like, I just wrote you off in my mind. You're nothing. It's a great thing. It's a great thing to be able to just kind of like disregard human beings. Because I think some of them are disregard worthy, right? That probably just lost me 2 more subs. Not that this person is gonna sub is still watching an hour and a half into me drinking Pepsi and talking stories. I'm trying to think if there's one last story, interaction story. I don't think I missed any of the big ones. If I think of something, I'll mention it again. I'm kind of sad Russ wasn't here. This was all for him. Next week, next Tuesday, we're going to have Russ on. Russ is going to be here for the 6th. We're going to talk about how many different like genus and species there are right now in isopods, because when I started, there was like 5. There were very few different species in the hobby, and now I feel like there's triple the number that there was when I started, added on to the number there was when I started. So Beetle will stand in for Russ. Beetle, those are big shoes. I'm not going to hold you to that. No offense. I'm not going to hold you to that, Beetle Buddy. Beetle Buddy. All right. We got Vico Bubbles and Beetle Buddy. So, yeah, Russ and I are going to talk about that, the different species, and kind of their differences, I think. We haven't really gone over it totally. I need to dial in on that. But we're definitely going to be talking about the different species, and I don't think there's a better person that I could talk to than Russ. Now, to be fair, Russ doesn't own, I think he owns like 6 species right now he's working with, but he's got a lot on his plate. So, Beetle just nailed it. So yeah, but I don't think there's a better person to talk about it than Russ. So we're gonna have Russ. Maybe how come I can't think of his name ever? The actual Podfather. I can never think of his name. Isopod.com. Somebody help me out here. I'm disrespecting the crap out of it. It's Chris? No, it's not Chris. But yeah, we're gonna be there doing that. The 13th, we're gonna talk to a guy about Neocardinia shrimp. So we're taking isopods underwater. Ben Quintanas, thank you, Jedi. We're going to talk about the little rainbow-colored shrimpies that you can get, the Neocardinia. Davidini, I think. Philip Sullivan. No, you're close. So we're going to talk to them about shrimp, and that is essentially aquatic isopods, right? They're related, so we're there. We're back again. So we'll have isopods actually next week, and then we're going to have shrimp. After that, I'm trying to get a couple people in line. I still want to talk to somebody about centipedes. A lot of people are busy for the holidays, so we might take a little break and give everybody else a break for the holidays. I know we tried to do Podsgiving again. It didn't. I put a post up. It just wasn't working out for everybody. We couldn't dial in on a date for everyone to get involved, and I don't want to do it without the 3 Podsgiving folk like me, Wally, and Russ. I don't want to do it without all 3 of us. So we're just not going to do it this year, I don't think. If I do wind up doing an episode, we're going to do it, call it something else. We'll make up another holiday. So some kind of Easter pod, Peaster? No, Podster? Maybe. That might work, actually. I like Podster. These shrimp are super cool, and I can't wait to get them. So I'm going to have them in a tank setup. I am putting forth, maybe I'll have some film for the video that I'm doing on setting up this 125. So I have a 125, and then I have I don't even know how big this enclosure. I don't know the gallon size of this enclosure. It's 24 by 16 by 16, I think but it's a weird dimension. So you'll see. It's like a triangle, kind of. So it's not, 16 by 16 is not really true. Jugsmith. I can't do Jugsmith. No. Yeah, the show, the Podsgiving would be like after January, basically. So it'd be like St. Isopod's Day or something. I don't know. It'd be bad. It'd be bad. So we're probably not going to do it till next year. It was a one-time tradition. So anyway, guys, thank you for tuning in. I had a good time talking. I hope you guys learned not to do something stupid like me, or unless you get Mr. Fantastic Stretchy Arms. It is, I will say I have no regrets, but I will say I've been lucky as well. So there were a lot of opportunities to have regrets, and I have been mentally aware of what I'm doing at all times. So, and made decisions based on that. We've had opportunities to touch a jaguar, a clouded leopard, and I thought about it deeply, but I stepped back. I'm like, this is a good way to get in the hospital, and get possibly this animal, taken off the menu. So yeah, don't enjoy them from afar. Enjoy them from afar at the zoo. That's what they're there for. They're not there for your encounter. Okay. That said, I'm probably going to keep doing it. I don't think I can stop at this point. It's an addiction. As long as nobody gets hurt, right? Hopefully no one ever sees me on the news with it. I need to write a book. But that sell 4 copies of that book. Tops, ebook. I'll put it out as an ebook for $1. Sell 4 copies. Fund that trip to Utah. So, guys, I hope you had a great Thanksgiving. First off, mine was excellent. I hope you have an excellent Christmas. If I don't see you, I will, because we'll be here next Tuesday. But hope your holidays are going really, really well, and family is as good as it can be for you. I know it's a difficult topic for some people, so I'm hoping it's as good as it can be. And if it's not that good, you can have your isopod family. All right, get out there and buy some stuff from some people on Mondays, or on Black Friday. Cyber Monday's over probably. So hit SDOC tomorrow. 12 Supreme Days of Christmas. Tomorrow is doing another drawing. I missed last night because migraine. But we'll talk to you guys later. So check out Wally Kern's Supreme Gecko YouTube for the giveaway tomorrow. All right. Peace out, you guys.